Welcome to We Are Everyone, a video and podcast series powered by Pivotal Moments, and we focus on the intersection of mental wellness in the workforce. We bring together young professionals and mindful executive mentors to bridge the generational gap and bring to the surface conversations about the importance of mental wellness and how to overcome career tradition challenges. Mental wellness is paramount. Join us. All right, welcome to We Are Everyone / Mental Recess as we transition to our new name, Mental Recess, which is also under the We Are Everyone channel and powered by Pivotal Moments Media. I'm your host, Jen Sherman, and we have a very special guest today, as all of our guests are special, but this is a particular special guest. We have Jeff Linihan from Avocado. He's the COO and president. Hey, Jeff, how are you today?
I'm great, Jen. How are you?
Doing well. No complaints. So Jeff, we like to kind of start off each episode by having the guests introduce themselves. I could always rattle off a bio, but it probably is more interesting coming from you, from just in regards to your background and kind of what led you to starting Avocado.
Sure. So I actually started my career as a lawyer, did not particularly enjoy the practice of law. So I quickly, after about 5 years, got out of that and got into the entrepreneurial game. And through my first company and my involvement in the Entrepreneurs Organization, I met Brian Handergren, my longtime business partner, and we started working together in a couple of our respective businesses. We were both solo entrepreneurs at the time, and he had a digital agency. I had a small manufacturing business, and we ended up partnering up on both of those, which was my first kind of entree into the media and marketing space. And we were in that space kind of at the same time as working on our first startup, which was an online collaboration software as a service product that we sold into large enterprises. And we were working day to day in that business. And back in 2017, we had an opportunity to meet some folks here in St. Louis that had some interesting technology. And originally, they were looking for new ways to monetize that technology. We weren't necessarily totally enamored with their original idea, but it got us thinking about some of the problems that we had faced in our digital agency. One of which was, and for Brian even longer than myself, went all the way back to the early days where we knew TV, for example, was having an impact on the Google search campaigns that we were managing for clients, but we didn't really have a meaningful way to capture that impact. So the light bulb kind of went off and said, wait a minute, we now have the ability to connect those two things in real time. And that's really where Avocado started, was in its very first product, which was connecting real-time knowledge of a linear television ad with a Google search campaign that was going on that was relevant to that particular ad.
Well, I think that's also really interesting from a standpoint, because as much as we know from the digital agency world, impressions only get you so far, right? Like the vanity metric. So if you're investing a lot of money, particularly on TV, we know how much those programs charge, that you want to make sure you're getting the bang for your buck and the analytics and data that you are paying for. And of course, data is at the core, correct? Tagline.
It is, yeah.
Did you like that branding tagline right there?
Right. I love it. Just throw it in there anytime.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, it really is, right? Because as you see the shift in video move more and more towards digital video and programmatic, right? You're seeing that data become increasingly less available to the advertiser or to the agency that's working with the advertiser trying to procure that media. And it's a big problem. It's well established in the television world, but as things shift away from traditional television, it's becoming a significant issue, which is why it's such a hot button topic today.
No, 100%. I mean, frankly, I can't even keep up. I call it the post-cable network world. I think when I first started my consultancy, I was dabbling in Facebook Live because I was like, I know this is where everything's going. Essentially, this post-cable network world, and now it's like I don't even know how much money I'm spending between my cable and these live or these streaming networks, if you will. Mm-hmm. But what's interesting is kind of the aspect of creating, like we're in this really interesting time where I think being able to serve like the ads that customers want to see, not just because they're talking into their phone and like might say something that's actually not even in regards to what they want to be served. Right. So I think there's a lot to play with here. And also kind of going into, I know we're pivoting a little bit, but you touched on the vision of the company, but I know at the core, I'm going to keep saying this is going to be my word, the core. I know at the core, there's a lot of social responsibility ingrained, like really was baked in from the beginning. So I really would love you to kind of touch on how social responsibility played into the vision of the founding of Avocado.
Yeah, so it's interesting, right? I mean, I'm a lifelong St. Louis, and I left to go to college. Had no intention of ever coming back, and after spending 4 years up and down the Eastern Seaboard, I realized that I really liked the Midwest. I liked the pace and style of life, so I decided to come back here and end up settling back here. And that history really drives, for me in particular, drives a passion for this community and the economic ecosystem in this community, because it's really just continued to go downhill over a number of years. And for me, it goes beyond just what I would call basic social responsibility. And for me, it's really a passion project about trying to help revitalize this region economically. And social responsibility from a corporate perspective is a big part of that, but it also drives the kind of culture that we created here, and it drives why we get up and do what we do every day. That is ultimately helping everybody that's part of Avocado, whether it's a team member or a vendor or a partner. To the extent we can, we want to help them make their own dent in the universe. And that's what we talk about, internally when we talk about why we get up and go to work every day, so to speak. Is to really help facilitate that. And, and that came up, we didn't start there, quite honestly. We started with really pushing kind of this vision and purpose that Brian and I shared, which was revitalization of our region, and having Advocado be a significant part of that. And, we've always had corporate, social responsibility things. We've done some things where we've done cooking for soup kitchens and things like that. But what we realized after starting digging into it, and it really came out of an NPS survey that we did for our team a couple of years ago, is realize that, this was kind of our own personal why, but that wasn't necessarily resonating with everybody on the team. So it really caused us to shift to, okay, let's not focus on a particular cause or a particular social responsibility that we as a company or we as founders think should be promoted. Let's help everyone go out and promote their own individual, cause or what they view as social responsibility.
Yeah, I think that's a great aspect. I think everyone, and this kind of ties into, the employee wellness and employee engagement, because I think at the end of the day, we're humans. We want to wake up and feel like we have a purpose outside of staring at our screens and typing away furiously to, work smarter, not harder, but like really what kind of impact we can make in the universe. And I think it's not like a one size fits all solution. That's what we talk about here too at Pivotal Moments around mental fitness and mental wellness is not a one size fits all. So it's kind of like taking your passion, whatever that may be, and bringing that back to the city, I think is a great approach.
Yeah. I just had a friend of mine who's actually also a coach of mine and a mentor of mine reach out to me. He was working with another client, and this individual was helping a large corporation put together a plan to help facilitate their employees creating their own personal brands. And, my first question back to him was, that's great. I love it. And I'm sure there's people in that organization that would love to create their own personal brand, but I wouldn't start by assuming that that's what everybody on that team wants to do, right? And so that was kind of the first question I challenged them back with was, I can talk to some things I think would be great to help facilitate that, but is that really what everyone wants? And is that the end all be all solution? And quite frankly, they hadn't really stepped back from that. They were so focused on, hey, we're gonna help this client, put together a personal branding program for their employees, and they hadn't stopped to think, well, is that really the solution?
It's interesting you say this, because the personal branding aspect, again, no shade. I think like it's definitely for some and not for others. Like I like being more behind the scenes, right? I mean, I like hosting podcasts, but again, like it's about amplifying the voices, not necessarily myself. It's just that's how I like to roll. But again, that's like, it's not everyone wants to be with the mic, or not everyone wants to be having the selfie camera on themselves and talking about, whatever. So I just think this assumption, one of the 4 agreements, not make assumptions, the assumption that everyone wants to have a personal brand is a pretty strong one. It's kind of more so like, and I know, Brian, I did take that, I know you're Jeff. Brian had sent me the, that person, I don't know, it was personality test or something, but it was like,
the culture index.
Yes. To understand like who that person is before kind of not, or assuming, or not saying forceful, but like kind of saying, okay, this is what you should do in order to be successful, or in order to get your name out there, or what have you. But that's, again, not what actually works for everyone. And everyone doesn't all need to have a personal brand. So I think that's an interesting point you bring up.
Yeah. We were from relatively early on with Avocado, we've been very religious about the use of culture index, particularly when it comes to attracting talent to the team and helping create a more highly functional team, and most particularly when it comes to team communication, and understanding the true essence of an individual and how they process information is really critical in both of those things. We had not translated that, quite frankly, to the cultural side of the organization, and we essentially did that, right, when we started getting those NPS surveys back, and we were getting feedback that, that there's something wrong with that vision that you guys have, but it doesn't resonate with me. And when we started looking at it, especially from a culture index perspective, it doesn't surprise me that this individual with this type of a culture index profile is not gonna see the thing the same way as we do. So because we process information differently, we're gonna have different passions, and it's really benefited us quite a bit to open up that perspective.
And I'm kind of curious, kind of diving a little bit more into culture and the culture index. Like, have you found the more that you've figured out like that? I mean, perfect is never a great word, but kind of figured out that balance of deploying the culture index and then finding that the employee engagement and wellness has gone up or has been more positive throughout the organization?
Yeah. So I think it's a little bit the other way around, right? I think what Culture Index has done is it kind of opened our eyes and allow us to better understand why our original kind of vision and why for the company wasn't resonating with everyone. And when we started thinking about it from the perspective of Culture Index, then it became easier to understand why not everyone shared that. But I wouldn't say that Culture Index necessarily drove how we engaged with the team or drove how we created our culture, but it certainly helped us better understand why we needed to pivot from our original course of action.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I have found, kind of just talking to different corporations and organizations, and also we held this, I guess, I had a half day recording last week with to another channel director and a guest, and the whole theme was like women helping women, and also mentorship, and how like at the end of the day, we're more drawn to, and this could also be building teams, we're more drawn to people who might look like us or sound like us or do the same things, maybe went to similar schools or something like that. And I've found in my career the most learnings that I've had for the most part has been actually people who don't look like me, who don't talk like me, or not where I'm from, and really seeing like the most successful teams being comprised of that. And I just find, and I think we spoke a little about this in some initial conversations, of like really like the ideal of inclusion, diversity are going to be hopefully in 10 years, it's not even like those terms aren't even exist, because we just are being, right. And so I just curious of what your thoughts on that as well.
No, 100%. I mean, our experience has been precisely that. We often talk quite candidly, that, I mean, let's be honest, Brian and I are two middle-aged white guys from the Midwest, right? And so you wouldn't necessarily expect two individuals that look like us and come from where we come from to set out and build an incredibly diverse team. And we have done that. And Culture Index was a big piece of that, right? Because it completely eliminated that unintended bias that can exist, right? Because if I'm the first thing I see about an individual when they apply for a job at Avocado is not what's on that person's resume or where they're from. It's literally 4 dots on a chart that tells me how that person processes information and gives me insight into whether or not they're going to be successful in the job. Because we go out and we create a job in Culture Index, and then we match potential candidates to the job we've created. And that's the first thing we see is this person is a 10% match for this job, or this person is a 90% match for this job. And then we take all those other pieces into account. And what has resulted from that is exactly what you're talking about, where we've built an incredibly diverse team. And it really has opened our eyes to the value that comes with that diversity. Because, I mean, our team is incredibly high functioning and certainly does not look and feel like a team that you might otherwise expect, from this situation.
No, that's beautiful to hear. I love that. And I'm kind of curious, as you kind of circling back to each, encouraging each individual at the organization to kind of take what they're passionate about in regard to community. And that's what they go, because we talk about kind of the CSR initiatives, community outreach activities, but that's more at that broader level of like, not where it's just from a company. It's not like the top down, but it's more of flat. Right. And so my curiosity is, being in DC, Amazon HQ, don't get me wrong. I do love a good Amazon. Amazon HQ is coming here, HQ2, right by, probably about 10 minutes away from where I live now. And they are coming here and really helping a lot with the community, right? Like, I mean, they came and most of the companies that they have like in the center, if you will, are all locally owned in DC. So my curiosity is kind of like what I love and kind of what the end or whatever goal is from a standpoint with Avocado is to kind of potentially be that force that is in the St. Louis region.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we see, we talk a lot about the PayPal Mafia effect, right? And that's really what built Silicon Valley, right? It was kind of the seed for what built Silicon Valley is, you get a company that has a lot of really great talent in it that is really successful. And at the end of the day, it's not just the 1 or 2 or 5 founders of the company or top executives of the company that have a meaningful outcome. It's every single individual in that company. So now you can take all of those folks can go out and they can go pursue their own bet in the universe. That may be starting their own software business. That may be going to join a friend that is starting a business and they can work for equity for a couple of years because they have a financial springboard that gives them the ability to do that. Or and all of those, or it may be go pursue a nonprofit. I mean, we have our employee number 2 at Avocado left us about 1.5 years ago to pursue her passion, which is hyper local nonprofit. And while we loved her as an individual, we loved her as a team member. She was amazing. We just had to wish her well and give her all the encouragement in the world because she was going off to make her dent. And that's exactly what we want to see people do. And again, that it can look very different and come in all shapes and sizes.
But that's magical though, right? Like, it's like, that's kind of really awesome to see that, and kind of it's karma, it's good karma, right? Kind of being able to even have those types of team members who work at the company. So kind of pivoting to how you personally on a day-to-day basis, kind of what we always talk about here at Pivotal Moments is mental fitness, which is not to say that, all of us a lot of people focus on physical fitness. And I think that their mind, body, spirit is really what needs to be connected in order to show up, happy and joyful every single day. That's like an overstatement. Not everyone's happy and joyful every day, but really just being mentally fit. So my curiosity here is, how do you flex your mental fitness muscle?
Yeah, I mean, I have a morning routine like many other folks do, right? And it involves things like meditation and affirmations and physical fitness as well in the mornings. But I think the thing that for me, and there are two things that I think have really helped me from the perspective of mental or mental wellness. And that is, my involvement in EO, which I mentioned earlier, which has been a long-standing commitment that I made, 16, 17 years ago, has provided me with relationships and with opportunities to learn and grow that have really contributed significantly to my ability to survive the journey that is being an entrepreneur and starting multiple companies and the grind that comes with that. But I think the biggest thing, and you talked about happiness and joy. For me, I'm an active practicer of presence, and so and in fact, I've taken it so far that I actually work with a coach on a regular basis to help refine my presence practice. And I found that for me, and the way I consume information, a presence practice, which is small doses throughout the day of what I'm going to call mental wellness, is more effective and has a larger overall impact for me than even my morning routine, right? I mean, yes, when I meditate in the morning, that's great. I really enjoy it, and I see benefit from it. I have seen incrementally more benefit from taking 5 minutes 10 times a day to just step back and be completely present, and the joy and happiness that comes with that, and the love that you experience when you do that, it's been profound for me.
I actually love that. And that's I think you're the first guest that have said that. Like, to your point, I love my morning routine as well, where, I'm an avid Peloton person, but that kind of adrenaline or like that clearness only can last for so long until you get onto the next, like I call micro moments throughout your day. So I feel like the active practice of presence is really important.
There you go, throwing on another Avocado tagline with micro moments. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. See, that's over here, right here is the advertiser. But I do think that's really powerful. And I kind of, as you were saying that, I was reflecting back to the moments where I am actually present in my day, or present in the sense of like feeling what's, connecting actually my mind to my body, not just being all up in my head. And it's great to like experience those. So I will definitely, I'm sure we'll have a bunch of social cards and social graphics from that quote from our social media person for the pivotal moment. So that's
I mean,
awesome.
it's always the biggest challenge, at least traditionally for me, is getting out of my head, right? I mean, when you do what we do, you're in your head all day long, and it's it can be really challenging to pull back out and connect those. You said it perfectly when you're talking about connecting the mind and the body, and it's powerful for sure.
No, I love that. Well, I do want to give you an opportunity, since we are ending on a good note with being present and really leaning into your presence throughout the day, is what piece of advice that you just kind of give other entrepreneurs about building a company that advocates for, wellness, community, giving back, and all that jazz?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've really probably touched on the biggest thing that I would say, which is this idea that no matter how passionate you are about your own vision or your own goals, that I think it can be so much more meaningful in terms of impact if you recognize that if you really empower others to make their own impact, that I think that can go a lot further and the tentacles can reach a lot further out than just one individual or a small group of individuals with a, albeit likely a very admirable and a very, meaningful passion. I think if you focus on helping others pursue their passions versus making it all about your own passion, then the impact can be larger.
I completely agree. And then also, as one of the Peloton instructors said, resonates with me, which I hear throughout a lot of other just instructors and guides out there, is to really you have to help yourself before helping others. So working on yourself, practicing being present and connecting the mind and body, so then you can really make that bigger impact on the universe. So I love
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be, it's a practice. It's called a practice for a reason, right? Whether it's presence or any other mental wellness practice, it's you're never going to perfect it. I'm one who doesn't like to fail. But I've had to come to the realization that I'm never going to perfect my practice, and it's always going to be just that. So I've had to accept failure to an extent, right? Because I fail every day at it.
Yeah, I hear you and I see you and I feel you, because I'm pretty sure if again, I haven't gotten Brian's take on the culture index yet, but I think it's pretty clear in there that I don't like it's failure. I accept failure and lean into it, but at the same time, I don't like it. So it's that balance for sure. But always love a good challenge. Well, this has been amazing, Jeff. Thank you so much. I'm sure, I could talk more about presence and mindfulness, but that would be making the conversation more about probably take it for a tangent. So I will end it here, but I really just want to thank you so much for joining the show today. Any other last words before we wrap up?
Appreciate the opportunity. It was great to chat.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And we will catch you next time.
Sounds good.
Thank you for tuning into another episode of We Are Everyone. You can subscribe to We Are Everyone on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and also be sure to visit www.pivotalmoments.org to learn more about the organization. And we also want to hear what mental wellness means to you. So you can follow us on social media, submit your video, and we will catch you next time. Thank you so much.